You'll never believe what someone said to me when I was grieving the loss of my very best friend, Alex, who I had known most of my life. She was like a sister to me. And someone in ministry, mind you, in children's ministry that I was on staff with said, well, it could be worse. It could have been one of your parents or your child. Who says that to someone who is grieving? But that got me thinking, maybe people say the wrong thing more often when someone's grieving than we care to admit. Because if somebody in ministry could give that response, who's supposed to be in some ways a professional at helping people when they're struggling, then what else do people say? And so I compiled a list of some things that you should not say. You should not say, well, they're in a better place now. Yes, that's true. If they're a believer, to be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord. They're in heaven. They are in a better place. But that doesn't help someone who's hurting and grieving in that moment. Another thing is to say, oh, well, God just needed another angel. Well, that's not even biblical or true. We don't become angels when we die. So to say that to somebody is very cliche, and it's actually not true. And sometimes people will even use scripture. And while scripture can be helpful, it's knowing the right scripture to choose. Oftentimes, people will use Romans 8:28, which says, as we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Yes, it is true that God works everything in our life, the brokenness, the tragedy, the good, the bad, for his good. But that is not a helpful verse for someone who's hurting. A lot of times what people will do, which I think is extremely dangerous, is to try to compare the person's pain with their own pain. Oh, I know how you feel because, someone said this to me, because my neighbor's, friend's cat died or cousin died. And it's like, that's not my pain. Like, my pain is very real to me in this moment. So to compare it to someone belittles the situation, and it's not helpful. Even when my mom was going through breast cancer, so many people trying to be helpful would say, oh, I know what you're going through. So-and-so I know had breast cancer. And sometimes the story even ended where that person passed away. And it's like, how is that supposed to help my mom going through chemo? And how is that supposed to be encouraging? Or, oh, I know I went through the same thing. It's just not the time to share your story. Make it about the person who's hurting and simply keep it short and sweet. I'm praying for you. I love you. I am so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine what you're feeling. That is the best response, because the reality is you should be praying for that person. The reality is you don't know how that person's feeling because their story is not your story. My husband lost both his mother and his father when he was very young. So by 12 years old, he was orphaned. And he went to a Christian school and church. And he's like, Daira, you will not believe the things people said, trying to show some kind of comfort to me, to try to make it better. It's almost like they are trying to comfort themselves more than me as a kid. And it just got me really upset because oftentimes, people who are not strong in their faith, they really begin to question God when hard things or tragedy happens. And as another believer, we should try to lighten that load, not make it heavier for that person to bear. And so, a great verse you can share is found in the Psalms. And it says this here. It says that God is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. God is near to people who are hurting. And so the best thing you can do then is also be near and even sit in the silence and not try to just fill the space with words, which I always have a lot of words, but it's not the right time to say anything. And if you want to be helpful, don't say, what can I do? Because someone who's grieving, they don't know what they need in that moment. It's just more to process. It's more to think about. They don't want to be a burden. So the best thing you can do is say, hey, I'm sending you a gift card. I'm sending you Uber Eats. I'm sending you something. You can use it whenever you need. Here you go. and just make it simple for the person so that it is showing that you're being helpful, but you're not trying to ask them what they need. You're just going ahead and doing something that's kind that you know that they'll use eventually. And that is a great way to show support and love with not making it about yourself or being overbearing in that moment. The reality is that a lot of times people are okay eventually sharing memories about a person that they loved. It meant a lot to me when somebody came up to me and said, hey, I know this is so hard. I know how close you were to Alex. Is there any story that you want to share? I would just love to listen. And that meant so much to me in due time to be able to just share something that was special and that somebody cared enough to hear the story. Another thing now that I do is every year, we always went into New York City. We lived in Long Island, and we would see a Broadway show. That was just the thing we did together. And so every year I purchase an additional ticket, and I work with teenagers. So I find someone who loves the arts and loves drama, and I bless them and say, hey, would you want to go see a show with me? This is something I used to always do with my best friend. And I think it would be a great memory and honor her if we went and saw a show together. And then it's a good thing that I did that I can then carry on that legacy and do that for someone and take them along on that joyful journey with me. It's not going to bring her back. It's not going to be the same, but it's a way to honor her. And so if you can find something to do to honor the person you lost, that's a great way to just keep their memory alive. And it's something very simple, but it can be so incredibly impactful and meaningful. Another thing I'll say is that at the funeral, and I was not keeping it together at all, I was an absolute mess, somebody actually asked me out. I know that's hard to believe, but a guy that we went to high school with literally came up to me and said, hey, I know you're really hurting, but I would love to go on a date with you at some point. Who does that? And so I'm really curious if you've lost someone close to you, or someone said something to you when you were grieving some sort of tragedy, if you would comment or or share below, because I can't even imagine some of the things that are out there that people do. That one absolutely shocked me, but then I had to laugh about it because I was like, that is so inappropriate and wrong. And all I wanted to do is call my best friend Alex and be like, you'll never believe what so-and-so just did. And so maybe it was a needed moment of laughter in a sea of sorrow, but come on, guys, we can do better than this. And as believers, we should, because God is near to the brokenhearted. And so we, as his people, as his ambassadors, we can be someone who sits near someone who's grieving, knowing that there's no right or wrong way to grieve. Everybody processes things differently. My husband deals with grieving by being humorous. He turns into a comedian. And I think it's very bizarre, and I wonder, but that's how he processes, is he has to laugh through it. That is not the way that I process, and I'm sure you process grief in a different way. But a lot of times Christians can mean well, but they can actually say really harmful things. So please don't be that person. Keep it short, keep it sweet, do something to bless the person, and don't try to, in that moment, be their therapist, because I guarantee you that's not what they need. All right. Hope that helps somebody out there. Let's do better, because I know we can.